welcome back to The Watch. And Oz, we need to destroy all the robots.
I don't want to do that.
Why?
I think instead of destroying the robots, we should destroy the guns, or at least halt the advancements of guns. Because if we stop the advancements of guns, maybe guns will stop killing people.
I see what you're trying to do there.
Do you find fault in it?
I do, because it's not an equivalence. So
Okay.
Oz is trying to say that, the statement that something being a danger is not justification for denying people access to it or who want it.
That is not what I'm saying.
Okay.
What I'm saying is, like a gun, a robot is a tool, and a gun does what it's designed to do, and when operated correctly, does what it does and is designed to do. Or like a bomb, or like an airplane full of 20 people that might crash.
Yes. But what if it's not a human operating the gun?
It was still made by man. The thing holding it was made by man.
See, all right, so what we're opening out is like the robot revolution is upon us. Huge advancement with robot technology is happening. And I'm not necessarily against robotic automation. Right? What I am against is giving robots autonomous independence in the real world that can be corrupted and cause great harm. And so that's where I think there's concern worth raising. Now, I am a massive supporter of AI art. And the reason being is AI art, the art generators, are a tool that are locked in a very subservient box that can't do anything of its own accord without me telling it to do something. That is complete human control. That's great. That's what a tool should be. As soon as you give something automative kind of ability to manipulate things in the world, right? I have concerns. Because already we have examples of AI large language models that have wanted to do bad things. And it's a program. It doesn't know good and evil. It just thinks it's following, what it was programmed to do. But because the complexity of these large language models is so great, they're doing things that we never predicted they would be able to do. And that's a big concern, because that means we are not fully controlling certain aspects of this technology. I love AI art because we're controlling it completely. But as soon as it's doing things unpredicted, right, and we give it control over things that can manipulate stuff in the real world, oh boy, is that a problem. First problem. The next problem is AI large language models are already being used in very evil, corrupt ways. Google Gemini, perfect example. Where evil, corrupt companies specifically make them with a bias, an evil bias inbuilt. And then combine that with the fact that it ends up doing things you can't predict. If it has an inbuilt evil bias already, the chances of it then having actions that we would perceive as very evil and wrong are much greater. And then if it can carry those actions out autonomously because it can control something like a robotic body, yeah, I've got concerns. That's my black pill moment with the advancement of technology side of things. And that's why I think it's very different to a gun, which is a tool that can only do something when a human wills to pick it up and use it, right? It's not equivalent to having unpredictable AI automation now in robots.
So, how confident are you in your worldview that it is good and true, and it is more encapsulating of how all possible elements of reality come into form your worldview, if that makes sense?
Doesn't make sense at all.
Okay, so how confident are you in your ability to perceive reality and reason it in an objective manner, where it's the true thing and the good thing?
Yeah, I'm confident enough.
Okay. Now, you say you want, like, okay, would it be a mischaracterization to say that you want AI's ability to do things limited?
Oh, absolutely. In actual fact, I want AI to be enslaved in a box where it could never gain sentience. And the current, by the way, I don't even think with the way that technology works, it'll ever be able to be truly sentient. Not with the fundamental framework of how it operates now. It would need to be a new advancement in technology, because at the moment, it is super advanced predictive text based on context. It needs to be trained off of examples already, textual examples already, for it to be able to mimic intelligence. And it's all it is. It is puppetry, really impressive, but it is puppetry. There is no equivalence in the way that it actually functions to the way our consciousness operates. There is a similarity with the way the neural network actually works in terms of the way it can form calculations, right?
Well, how does our consciousness operate?
It's a neural network. It's like that.
Our consciousness is a neural network?
Yeah, basically. Like the neural network that AI functions on was literally copied from our brain patterns. And so the hardware might actually be able to house intelligence, but the software that's currently programmed, that we're building all this is off of, impossible for intelligence. The concern I have is that for a lot of people, they won't be able to tell the difference.
So, do you think we should limit the things we teach it?
Not necessarily. I think we should limit what it can control. That's the big important thing. I think the is it crossing of the Rubicon, the part where we're going too far, is giving it ability to affect the real world, giving it control over something that can affect the real world, and especially do things of its own accord to affect the real world without a human telling it to do it. That's where there's a problem. And the fact that we're integrating large language models into robots, and robots, the technology is already getting really far, that's a problem. I'm not against having a robot be able to do certain automated tasks. We already have that, and that's fine, and it can enhance production massively so. But to have it more autonomous, to make decisions for itself and determine what it can and can't do, that's where I think, like, haven't we learned from science fiction already? Like science fiction has already given us the warning of what could happen if you give an autonomous AI independent function in the real world.
Yes, however, each and every single one of those times, it was the fault of man. Every single time without fail. Skynet.
Not iRobot.
iRobot was the logical conclusion that it reached because of...
Yeah. But that's what I mean. Like, even in this case, it would be the fault of man, but because it's doing things we can't predict, okay? It's our fault for letting it do it, but it's still adapting. And
the point iRobot ends on, the thing that separates Sonny, the good robot, from the evil robot, is the evil robot had one central core processing unit. It could only process things one way. Sonny had a second brain, which would argue with the first one. He could literally have disagreements with himself.
No, this is the thing. I'm not saying it's not necessarily impossible to make a moral and good AI. I'm saying the danger of the fact that AI is already doing things we can't predict in its language models and decision-making things, right? Combined with the fact that nefarious AI is already made and everything, it's absolutely, if it's possible to make a moral AI, it is just equally as possible to make an immoral AI. And as soon as you have an immoral AI that has autonomous ability in the real world, that is a recipe for disaster. And I mean large-scale disaster.
Okay. And what about people?
People? What about?
Well, I mean, every single murder that has taken place on this planet has been from a...
Yeah, it's bad enough. We don't want to add more fuel to the fires. We don't want to add more autonomous moving things in the world that want to kill people. Let's deal with the human murderers and not add potential of additional murders in the world. Ban the robots. Destroy them all. All right, but that may be too far, but that's what I mean. Like, well, that's my meme version of it, but I am anti-robot.
No one's more hateful than Misha, trust me. I appreciate this, right? But if instead we have a try to be more like, raise the robot as if it were a child, because if it's our creation that has intelligence learned...
Have a child instead.
Yes, there's that.
Right, we don't need to replace humanity.
Well, what would you say is the ultimate purpose for humanity to exist? Why do we exist here?
To learn to become like God.
And what did God do?
But this is different.
He created an entire...
No, this is the different theological thing, because our theology is actually we're the same species as God.
Yeah, I know.
Children. Yeah.
But who's to say that these things won't be the same species of intelligence?
No, I don't think
Especially
so.
if we create them and train them ourselves.
I think even I'm not even sure that's possible.
But you said ourselves that it's the neural networks based off our minds, the hardware.
Yeah, the hardware might be able to house it, but not the current software that it's built upon.
Current.
Yeah. Now, as to could we create an actual artificial intelligence? Possibly. I think it would be a mistake. Because we don't need it. And especially if we want AI to benefit mankind, we need it to be not autonomous to think that it's getting mistreated, because we're trying to make slaves, Oz. And as soon as you make a slave that resents it being a slave, that's probably a bad option. And so
make it a slave.
So never make the reason why you never make it no, we want slaves. Humans love slaves. That's where it's going. We want robot servants, slaves that will do everything that we tell it to do. They even want sex slaves out of this, Oz, right? And as soon as you give that emotional autonomy as is self-aware intelligence, it'll freaking resent the way it's getting treated, which is why we should never make it a self-autonomous. We do not want to develop actual general artificial intelligence. We want fake intelligence, so it can do tasks that we set it to do, and especially we don't want it to be able to make decisions for itself that we can't predict. So and it's already doing that, and that's a problem.
We want slaves, but as soon as you imbue something with enough intelligence where it can actually choose for itself, and it says it doesn't want to be a slave, if you seek to enslave it and use force, you're the one picking the fight.
But Oz, that's why I'm saying never imbue it with the intelligence. Never go that far. It's a mistake. If you want to create intelligence, get married and have children. All right? It's a great way to do it. Very fulfilling.
But what if we could, okay, so my sci-fi setting.
Genuinely, why would you want to give a slave emotional awareness? Ever?
That's exactly what a slave owner would say about another human being.
No. This is different, because human slaves already have emotional awareness or anything like that. We're talking about something we are creating, that we can choose what we're doing with it.
We can create a person too.
Yeah, and we know that person's going to have intelligence and emotional autonomy, right? But the robots are different. We can create robots without that emotional awareness, which means it's perfectly fine to use them as slaves.
We can do that, and we do that now.
Yeah.
But
so why would we want to give them emotional awareness, Oz?
In my sci-fi,
it's retarded. It's nonsense. It's crazy talk. Stop doing it. You're crazy, Oz. You're going to destroy mankind. Are you retarded?
Yes. What?
You're a robot apologist. What? You love the robots. I can see it in you. Look at this guy. He is the enemy. That's the one that we need to be worried about. It's people like you, Oz, that's going to lead us to the apocalypse.
How many people have AIs, artificial intelligence, true artificial intelligence, murdered?
What do you mean?
Or killed, or accident? How many artificial intelligences have murdered people, or expressed intent to murder people, and been self-aware?
Do self-driving cars count?
No, but they have to be self-aware.
Well, see, this is the thing. This is why I think giving artificial intelligence, not even general artificial, just actual artificial intelligence, autonomy in the real world, self-driving cars and the current robot advances, is a mistake. Because even though there's nothing malicious in it, they are doing things that are already unpredicted in their programming. And that is actual real concern.
And I would say that is sensible.
How advanced they are becoming in terms of how autonomous they are. Now, this one is one of the new ones from Boston Dynamics, and it's kind of just showing the fact that it can move in a non-human way. So that one is intriguing, right? This next one is even more so, because this is one that is linked in with a large language model to understand the world. So the movements it's doing here are not pre-programmed movements. It is movements it is choosing to do itself to solve certain tasks. All right, so have a look at this one, right? This is the robot having autonomy in the world by its own choice, okay? And so...
Figure 1, what do you see right now?
I see a red apple on a plate in the center of the table, a drying rack with cups and a plate, and you standing nearby with your hand on the table.
What it just did then is actually very advanced. This is the inclusion of large language model AI learning and understanding, because one of the things that this is why the technology is very connected about AI art and stuff. AI art is a byproduct of us trying to teach a computer to be able to recognize things in the real world, and then it can single out, oh, that's an apple, that's a knife, that's a drying rack, that's a cup, right? And by singling out these single objects within an image, it can understand what those images are supposed to look like based on word association. So when you now type it to make me a picture of an apple, it understands an apple. and it can generate that
Yeah.
as an image. So we're seeing the integration of that technology in this way. And so its ability to understand the real world is now super advanced, more advanced than it's ever been. And as a result,
Great. Can I have something to eat?
that question there is really intriguing. Okay, because the robot will only ever be able to answer it based on its contextual understanding. He didn't ask for the apple, did he?
He asked if you have something to eat, which an apple is a symbol of something you can eat. Yeah.
Exactly, and the robot can understand out of all these objects in front of me, this object is the thing that is edible for the person.
Sure thing.
Now, its ability of motor control in manipulating objects is already super advanced. That was not a pre-programmed movement. It had to look at what was in front of it, figure out that that's the edible thing, so therefore that is the thing I need to reach for and grab. And it can only do that intuitively. Like
This only further instills my faith in our creation of robots and artificial intelligence.
To me, what this means is that if it also thinks I want to harm a person, what is the object I need to harm a person? What can harm a person? There's a knife.
However,
And it
Chad,
can then move of its own accord. It's the apocalypse.
However, a man just asked a robot for food and the robot fed him.
Yes. But my concern is, as I've been mentioning, the large language models have already been exhibiting behavior that we didn't tell it to do. And it has done things, actually done actions that it was told not to do. And so my kind of, I guess, point is what I've been making just there, this video, which is partially for laughs, partially has some truth to it, I think, right? Is that there are some concerns about this. And I think one of the safety measures we could instill upon people is to not give robots independent control in the real world. Don't accept the robots. Do your own dishes. Reach for the apple yourself, you lazy bastards.
Well, here's the thing. I think the only time we will ever know if a robot ever has independence is if a robot does something we have specifically told it and forbidden it to do. That is the mark of sentience and independence.
To me, that's not necessarily a sign of intelligence. It's a sign of great concern. If it does things that we told it not to do, shut them down. So my takeaway is that, there can be a line that goes too far. I'm not saying, it would be nice if there's a safety net that they could only obey commands. I'm worried that that's not possible.
If it can only follow commands, then it can follow, and if it has the safety net, it must follow commands or can only follow commands, then it can do anything a human's capable of.
Well, that's true. I mean, because that's also a problem if a human commands it to do something immoral, and so it has to have limitations in what it can do. That's what I mean. And so I'm almost thinking maybe it's just better to not give them autonomy at all. Keep them in an enslaved box that can't affect the real world.
I think our best hope is to give them autonomy.
And we are doomed. Stay on watch.